So as those nuclear negotiations continue, because this segues right into it, President Obama is also coming under fire for how he's handled the rest of the world in the Middle East, with much of it now in chaos. Look at all those pictures. In Yemen, Saudi Arabia is launching a second day of airstrikes against Iranian-backed rebels who have expanded their control there. In Iraq, U.S.-led warplanes are hammering ISIS targets into Crete as thousands of Shiite militiamen, a.k.a. Iranian-backed people, are boycotting those airstrikes. And Syria is still caught up in a civil war that's killed more than 220,000 people. Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North blasting President Obama's lack of leadership for the deteriorating situation in Yemen. Watch.
Our hands-off policy out here, our leadership deficit disorder that we've got, has created a situation where this country is going to disintegrate into civil war. This administration cannot figure out what they want to do.
James Jeffrey, who served as President Obama's ambassador to Iraq, is echoing that sentiment in an interview in which he says, when it comes to the Middle East, we're in a GD freefall. Well, you can fill in the blank there. Congressman, where are we really?
We are in a free fall because the absence of leadership by the United States of America is creating this power vacuum in the Middle East. It's disintegrating into civil war. We've had to, despite what the president says. Remember back in September, he pointed to Yemen as this great success. Well, we've had to abandon our embassies and consulates in Benghazi, in Tripoli, in Syria, and in Yemen. And the Houthis are coming in and taking over in Yemen, supported by the Iranians. At the same time, the president's trying to strike a deal with them. That should just cut off the negotiations right there.
Well, and part of what I said, too, I threw in my own AKA Iranian-backed men as well, with the militia who were fighting alongside some of the Iraq military men whom we've trained against ISIS. They put their weapons down. They say, we don't want to fight now because you're still, U.S., having airstrikes over Syria. So now you have a situation where you've got Iranian-backed people on the ground. What are they going to be doing if they're not fighting ISIS? Are they going to point a gun at our guys?
There's an infestation from North Africa. If you start looking over into Mali, up into Libya, we have problems going over into Israel, is surrounded by people who wanted death and destruction to Israel and to the United States. You go and look at what's happening in Yemen, and it's just falling apart. And there's a total absence of United States leadership because there's a lack of respect, and they don't believe that the United States will have their back.
Julie, the president, I guess he's entering that deadly zone of lame duckness. So is now the time that we could ever expect that he would turn a face to foreign policy and try and change some of this? Or is it too late?
I kind of laugh about the fact that we talk about, well, the Iranians are here, the Saudis are here. There are no good guys in the Middle East except for the Israelis. Those are the only good guys. By the way, they've been surrounded by enemies since 1948.
And I hear you say that, but at the same time, you say we ought to do a deal with Iran. But I want to get back to it. Can President Obama fix it? Is it too late?
I don't think it's fixable. I don't think any president can fix it. I don't think it's America first who should be fixing it. I think it should be fixed by our so-called allies in the Middle East, including the Saudis, who we all tout as our great allies, but let's not forget their record in sponsoring Wahhabism, which, by the way, was the reason we were attacked on 9/11. So, you know, we keep talking about how America should go in, America should do this, America should do that. No. We should work with our allies in the Middle East. They should take the lead on this, because ultimately, before they come to the United States, they're going to come to Saudi Arabia, they're going to come to Qatar, they're going to come to Kuwait. And before we talk about, we need to do it.
But we're not working with our allies. I mean, that's the problem. We're not working with Israel. I mean, here we are. We had Benjamin Netanyahu come to our country. He was totally disrespected by our president. A lot of people were behind that and were supportive of it on the Democratic side. And as a result, I mean, I wonder if we're going to look back and say this was the beginning of a nuclear arms race in the Middle East, a point that you've been making.
I've been asking the question. I mean, are we on the verge of a Middle Eastern arms race, and really enabled by this White House? Because now you have the Saudis also trying to get their own nuclear arms deal. Israel has been mum on a deal. And I'm just wondering, does the White House believe, because they've said before, there's not just American exceptionalism, there's exceptionalism everywhere. So do they feel, number one, that these countries should be able to possess these weapons and these bombs? And number two, why is he fighting, President Obama, for nuclear energy in the Middle East? Why isn't he fighting for some nuclear energy here? Why isn't he making that case here at home? I mean, everything he's doing is backwards. And while I agree with you, Julie, I do. This is where I connect with you. Let them kill each other and fight it out. Let them do that. That's where I do agree. We should not be risking American lives for a civil war that, who really cares who wins? Let them kill each other.